Hello, Darby! I'm so excited to meet you. My name is Dewey Decimal, and I have been friends with your dad for many years. He just told me you wanted to go on a real adventure to see Jamestown Colony in Virginia and wanted to share it with anyone who was interested in going as well. He has asked me to work as your research assistant as I did for him on his many adventures. Having the knowledge of the real events at any location is crucial to understanding the importance of the location you are heading to. The history of Jamestown Colony is fascinating and often overlooked. I have lined up all the individuals who played a role in the colony to tell you their story. But there is so much to tell, I think it best to do this in two parts. So do you have any questions to start us off today?
I was looking online at the pictures of the obelisk at the Jamestown Colony. The thing is, the text was too small to read. Could you tell me what it says?
Of course! The obelisk was built in 1907 on the 300th anniversary of the founding of the Jamestown Colony. It reads Jamestown, the first permanent colony of the English people. The birthplace of Virginia and the United States. May 13th, 1607.
But doesn't that mean that there would be other English colonies there that didn't survive? And wouldn't that also mean that there were other countries trying to colonize there about the same time?
Wow! Those are great and insightful questions, Darby. The short answer to both is yes. The English had tried to establish a colony at Roanoke, and in a moment, I will introduce you to Sir Walter Raleigh to tell you what happened. Secondly, yes, other countries were also trying to set up colonies, namely Spain. Coincidentally, the Spanish attempt in Virginia, before the English arrived, would play a rather interesting role in the story of Jamestown.
Valorous day mine, Mistress Darby. I doth ask by thy assistant to speaketh to thee on mine endeavour to set up the colony of Roanoke. In April 1587, I did sendeth John White to lead a group of 118 men, women, and children, including White's daughter Eleanor, and son-in-law, Ananias Dare, to the island of Roanoke, whither they did set up England's first real colony. Our glorious Queen Elizabeth forbade me to go in person, so I shall allow John White to inform you of what happened next.
Valorous day to thee, Darby. 'Tis mine pleasure to meeteth thee. I am John White. Sir Walter Raleigh doth hire me in this venture to leadeth an expedition and set up of a colony at Virginia. I did lead 118 men, women, and children, including mine daughter and son-in-law. We did land in August 1587, and immediately did beginneth setting up fortifications to protect us from the native peoples as well as the Spanish. Our food supplies was low and did need more assistance. Therefore 6 weeks later I did sail back to England to procure more foodstuffs, but war with Spain hath broken out and I was unable to returneth until 1590. Yon was 3 years after mine departure from Roanoke. I was excited to see mine daughter and her child, Virginia, as she did give birth shortly after we did land in 1587. However, at which hour we arrived at the colony, I was horrified to see nothing was left except for earthwork fortifications and the words Croatoan, carved in a tree. I doth believe that they hath gone to stayeth with the Croton Indians which did live down the coastline in an area called Hatteras. 'Twas mine intention to sail thither immediately, however, bad weather did cometh upon us. We did lose 2 anchors and 7 men drowned. Our ship captain named Cook and I did agree our journey to Hatteras will be cancelled, and no delay should be made in sailing home. To this I do not know what hath happened to my family, or the other colonists. 'Tis a mystery.
That was interesting for sure. This story has become America's oldest mystery, the lost colony of Roanoke. So now we know the English had tried to set up a colony at Roanoke, which failed 20 years before they founded the colony at Jamestown. The next part of your question was, were other countries attempting to set up colonies as well in North America? As I said, the answer is yes, Spain was very active in this. In fact, I have King Philip II here to tell you his story.
Hello Darby, I am King Philip II, of Spain. Your assistant has asked me to tell you about my involvement in the colonization of the Americas during my reign from 1556 to 1598. Our Spanish Empire was already established in the Americas when I became king in 1556. We were gaining immense wealth in the areas of La Florida. But there is an interesting story you should hear from one of my captains, named Antonio Velázquez.
Hello Darby, I am Captain Antonio Velázquez. We sailed into Florida del Norte, today you would call it Virginia. We encountered two Powhatan boys, whom we captured those as interpreters. One of these boys said the hueso Pechancanogue, we pronounced it as Paquiquineo. My crew and I were very impressed with him and brought him back to Spain with Suez, after first stopping in La Florida, and Hageman. He adapted our was and became Don Luis de Velasco. He is here next waiting to talk to you.
Hello Darby. My name is Opachancano, and I am from the Powhatan tribe. I lived in an area you now know as Virginia. My brother is Juan Seneca, but you may know him as Chief Powhatan, Pocahontas' father. This was my home when I was a boy, but everything changed in the year 1561. I was a preteen boy when I saw a Spanish ship sailing near my home. This was nothing new for us, as we had seen many ships sailing for years past our lands. But this one was close, so I went to investigate. Unfortunately, they found and captured me so I could work as an interpreter for them. They took me to places called La Florida and Cuba before sailing back to their homes in Spain. I knew I could not escape or fight my way back home. I would have to outsmart them, and that is what I did. I learned their language and spoke it fluently. I also learned English from them. They taught me their books, technologies, religion. I knew more about them than they did. I was so good at assimilating into their culture that they adopted me, and gave me the title Don Luis de Velasco, and had my portrait painted, which you see here beside me. I even was able to meet their King Philip II. 9 years later I found my chance to go home. I volunteered to go back to my homeland with the Jesuit priest, Father Segura. They believed I wanted to help them convert my tribe, but all I wanted was to go home. I finally set foot back on my soil in September 1570. After so many years, I was finally home. I immediately left Father Segura and the other Jesuits behind and made my way back to my family. Unfortunately, they found me and tried to force me to go back with them. I had no choice but to ask my family for help in ending this problem. I led a raid upon their camp and killed them all, save one, a young altar boy, Alonso de Olmos. And this boy pulled the same trick I did, many years ago. I will let him tell you. We will talk again soon.
Hello Darby, my name is Alonso de Olmos, and I am a 13-year-old altar boy who traveled with Don Luis de Velasco, or as he called himself Opachancano, Father Segura, and 3 other Jesuit priests to Florida del Norte, or as you would call it, Virginia. We arrived on September 10th, to a warm welcome from the Powhatan tribe, who seemed to think Don Luis had returned from the dead. A few days later Don Luis left us for the Powhatan village and fell back into the evil heathen ways. Father Segura and the other Jesuit priests tried to bring Don Luis back to our mission, but all attempts failed. A few days later Don Luis showed up at our camp with members of his tribe and attacked us without cause. He killed the other priests, then put Father Segura on his knees, wished him well and clubbed him in his head repeatedly, until he was dead. He spared my life and brought me back to their village and made me a member of his tribe. This is when I realized what I had to do. I would have to employ the same tactic that Don Luis de Velasco used. I would learn their language and culture and assimilate myself. I knew my countrymen would return, so I only had to buy some time. I did not have to wait long. Just under 9 months later my country sent a small armada to check on our status. I quickly but quietly made my way to the ships and made it on board. I was greatly relieved to be back with my own countrymen and quickly relayed all the events that had taken place to the captain. After hearing my story, he ordered all the fleet's cannons to open fire upon the coast of the Powhatan tribe, which killed many of their heathen warriors and served as a lesson to them of our superiority. When I finally set foot upon my native soil, I wrote a small book detailing the events that took place and the killing of Father Segura and the other Jesuit priests. I will show you the cover of the book next. King Philip II will then tell you of his decision dealing with Florida del Norte.
Hello Darby, this is King Philip II of Spain coming to talk to you once more. When Alonso de Olmos was returned home safe and sound, and related the events that took place with Don Luis del Velasco and the murder of Father Segura and the other Jesuit priests, I made the decision to end all attempts to bring Christian enlightenment to these evil heathens. We no longer had an interest in Florida del Norte.
Wow, Darby, what a story so far, but there is a lot more of this story to be uncovered yet. As you heard earlier, the English had attempted to set up a colony at Roanoke, which mysteriously ended as a result of unknown events, hence creating America's first and oldest mystery. Now Queen Elizabeth I, who supported colonizing the New World and gave her support for the colony of Roanoke, died on March 24, 1603. The next in line to the throne was James I from Scotland. He ascended the throne of England directly after the Queen's death, and he did not support the colonization of the New World. I will let him explain his reasons to you.
Good day, Darby. I am King James I. Thy assistant hath asked me to speak with thou on mine objections to colonizing this new land thou would bid America. Allow me be clear to thee, I am not fully against colonizing this land. Our country's coffers, meaning disposable monies, hath run dry. Attempting to colonize lands that Spain hath shown interest in may cause yet another war we hast not the money to fight. With this said, if measures are in place that warrant a war shall not be started by these colonists, and would I personally receive a portion of all gold and silver found, then I shall not say no to any attempt made in such endeavors.
And just like that, Darby, he left the door open for investors to create a company that would safeguard the king and enrich him as well. This is how the Virginia Company came into existence. So, let's hear from them next.
Most pleasurable and beauteous day to thee, Darby. Thy assistant hath asked me to speaketh with thee to the Virginia Company. Firstly, my name is Sir Thomas Smythe. I was a successful haberdasher and investor in such companies as the East India Trading Company. I was knighted by King James in 1603, and I becameth the chairman for the Virginia Trading Company of London. We would meeteth at this building hither, behind me. Thee must beest wondering how a trading company worketh, so allow me to explain it for thee now. We the investors put in a certain amount of our monies to payeth for the transportation, in this case the ships, food, equipment for the settlers, as well as their pay for this endeavor. In returneth, we taketh the majority of treasures, such as the gold and silver we anticipate those gents wilt findeth, thereby reimbursing us for the monies we invested plus a very nice profit on top, which we can then reinvest on further endeavors, making even more monies. We knoweth that King James I wast not in favor of these expeditions, but that he wast in desperate needeth of refilling his coffers, thereby allowing us to present our terms in search of a royal charter. We would ensure this venture would not cause a war with Spain, and that 20% of our profits would be given directly to the king. Our terms wast approved by King James, which we needed to beginneth this venture. Once we had the charter, we began outfitting ships, hiring crews, the settlers, and those we wanted to lead the expedition. We also laid down the ground rules to ensure maximum profitability. 1. In order to avoid war with Spain, they cannot build their settlement on the coast where the Spanish would see them. 2. There should be no natives living around the area that they choose as their settlement. We do not want our men killed before they find the gold and silver. 3. It must be defensible from every angle. These men are an investment, and we always protect our investments.
I beg the pardon of my Lady Darby for thine intrusion, but I doth felt it was a good time to make an appearance. I am Captain John Smith, at your service, my lady. I am a well-known mercenary, which means a professional soldier for hire. I was hired by the Virginia Company to lead the 40 soldiers in protecting the other 65 settlers. 35 of which were gentlemen, the remaining 30 were skilled workers. This is my coat of arms awarded to me for my past conquests. It reads, to conquer is to live. There is one other mission I was hired for, of utmost secrecy, of which I cannot speak of freely here. If you follow me through the next door into a private room, I can tell you. Alas, my Lady Darby, I have accepted a secret mission from the Virginia Company. I have been charged with learning the fate of the members of the lost colony of Roanoke. If they are still alive, I am to retrieve them with all haste possible. If they be dead, I am to learn the reasons for it. This mission is mine and mine alone, no other soldier on this endeavor knows of it, and I ask you not speak of it further. It has been mine honor to meet with thee, and look forward to speaking with you later, when you see how our story unfolds. Till then, I wish thee well.
How interesting, Darby. Now we know how the Virginia Company got started, and I'm sure you can also see some of these stories converging. For example, the English were afraid of starting a war with Spain, so they took steps to avoid their upcoming settlement from being detected. They had no idea that Spain had already attempted colonizing the area, or that they taught Pocahontas everything about the European culture. They certainly did not know that Spain had in fact given up any hope of settling that area. But there is one group we have not heard from just yet, and they are the Powhatans. I have Chief Powhatan here next to tell you the native side of this story.
Hello Darby, my name is Wahan Seneca, but you have probably only heard my name as Chief Powhatan. I was born around your year 1547 and had a younger brother, whom you have already met, named Pocahontas. I was the chief of the Powhatan Confederacy of natives who inhabited your modern-day state of Virginia, which we called Senecameca. By the year of 1606, I was the leader of over 30 different tribes, who paid tribute for protection against other indigenous tribes, which were not aligned with my Powhatan nation, notably the Iroquois Confederacy. We were a matrilineal society, which means a family's name and title are passed down through the family's bloodline. Women chose the elders, members of the tribal council, and the chief.
Oh, for the Lord's sake, enough of this dribble from this heathen. I am John Ratcliffe, the first real governor of Jamestown. And I have been waiting ages to speak with thee.
Excuse me, Governor Ratcliffe. Do not be so rude. It is not your turn to speak yet, and we are trying to learn from Chief Powhatan at the moment. You will wait your turn, and I assure you, you will have your chance to speak. I'm sorry, Darby, and I'm sorry, Chief. Please continue with your lesson.
That is okay, it is the way of these English. I do have more to say, but that will come later in the story. I would however like you to meet my daughter Amanuta, although you may know her by the name Pocahontas.
Hello Darby, my name is Amunut, but I am sure you know me as Pocahontas. I know all about the stories of me in your time. I must admit I am a little fond of Disney's Pocahontas, but I remember the events a little differently. To start with, when the English came, I was just an 11-year-old girl. But do not think I was just a mere child, oh no, I was much more than that. At the age of 11, like all girls, I had already learned how to track animals, find herbs and medicinal plants. I knew how to build our houses called yahakens. We knew how to tan hides, cook meals, make dinnerware such as plates and bowls and spoons. There was nothing I could not do. I am so looking forward to talking with you some more, but I think it would make more sense to intertwine our Powhatan story with that of the English when they tell theirs. So please sit back and enjoy the story as it unfolds around you.
Okay, Darby, the time has come. You now know the entire backstory leading up to the settlement of Jamestown. Now you are ready to watch the true events unfold before your very eyes. The stage is set, and I will bring in all the people to tell their story as it happened.
We had seen many ships before sailing by, but this was the first time I had personally seen them so close. Our tribe was excited to see who they were. How I wonder who they are and where they come from. Will they be good people?
I led my men ashore onto the banks of the river, with our first governor Edward Wingfield. He believed this was a perfect location.
As chief, it is my responsibility to decide how best to deal with these English. I am not sure why they decided to land on this piece of diseased land. They cannot possibly be this foolish. There is no fresh water to drink, there is a large nasty swamp there, although with such little rain these many moons it has dried up. The area is full of bugs that make us sick when bitten. The only thing worthwhile there is some good game to hunt. I will watch and see what actions they take. If they are only passing through, then there is no reason to do a thing. I am sure they will not try to stay there, they must be planning on moving on soon. But we shall soon see.
Governor Wingfield has unfortunately not taken my advice. He has made the decision that this is the best location for our colony. It is 37 miles from the coast, so the Spanish should not see us. There are no natives in the area, and it seems to be defensible from every angle. But I wonder, if this is such great land, why are there no natives living here? He has ordered construction of a fortification, primarily facing the river due to the Spanish threat. I have ordered a cannon be placed facing the bend in the river. It gives us a direct line of fire if the Spanish sail in. But we must be aware of the natives. The Spanish are not our only threat here.
I know I am only 14, and am not a legendary soldier like thee, but I have heard what thee hath said to the men, that we needeth to be concerned about the natives, and not just the Spanish. Sure I am a little afeard, but I want to help square these natives should those gents attack. How can I help?
I saith young Richard, I have heard of you, even at the young age of 14. Thee would not be on this venture if I thought you incapable of it. Should an attack cometh, I will need thee inside this fort, for I am giving you the most important job, to guard our foodstuffs and supplies, for without that, we will surely all perish.
I have watched these English for 3 days. I had hoped they would simply move along and go back home, but they are cutting down trees and building walls, which means they intend to stay, and that is not acceptable. I have asked my younger brother Pocahontas to plan and carry out an attack against these English and wipe them out, before they become a real problem. My plan is simple. The English are so worried about a Spanish attack from the river, that they have only focused on that portion of their fort. I will lead my men down the river and attack the English, from behind where they least expect danger. They will rely on their muskets. I know it takes a minute and a half to fire and reload for a trained soldier. In that time one of our warriors can fire 7 well-aimed arrows. They will not stand a chance.
Though our men fought bravely, we were severely outnumbered. We would have been wiped out completely if it had not been for our 3 ships, the Susan Constant, the Godspeed, and the Discovery. They brought their cannons to bear and gave these natives a taste of hellish fire, forcing them back. I must also report that young Richard Mutton has died from his injuries as a result of the battle. Young Mutton was shot in the leg with an arrow, an infection took hold and he hath passed. We buried him as quickly and as Christian-like as we could. To hide the numbers of our dead, we did not mark the ground, and placed workshops on top of the graves.
Our attack was an overall success, though we were forced back by their cannon fire. They use it more efficiently than the Spanish. This is a lesson learned. We will strike when they do not have such an advantage next time. We will continue to watch and learn from them and strike at the opportune time.
After the failed attack by these heathens, our first governor, John Winthrop, was removed from his position. He failed to prevent such an attack by not focusing on building the rear of the fort. I, John Ratcliffe, have been installed as the new governor, and it's about time. Since these savages have learned that they are inferior to us, I no longer see them being a threat. Therefore, I am ordering the men to build a mansion fit for my governorship. They have the audacity to complain about sleeping in mud pits while building a mansion for me, but that is why they are here. It's good to be the governor.
'Tis nearly December. It has been a few months since we have seen any natives, but I am always watchful. The morale of the men is nearly gone. Ratcliffe has them building him a mansion while they sleep in the dirt, and their food supplies are dwindling. To make matters worse, the only water we have is brackish. You can drink it, but not a lot. I see this as a moment to accomplish 2 things at once. I intend to go out in my armor and hunt for as much food for the men as I can. While out there, I will look for clues as to what happened at Roanoke.
My warriors tell me, an Englishman in metal clothes is out hunting. If he is wearing this armor, it means he is a leader, so I am sending my warriors to capture him. Now that we have captured him, I intend to question him. I already know everything about their culture. What I need to know is, if he is an honest man.
Well, I was captured. Thankfully they know nothing of science and technology, which gave me an edge. I wowed them with all my tools and compass. I don't know what they are saying, but I think they really like me.
I found this man named John Smith to be brave and honest, not too bright though. I will take him to meet my brother, the chief. I have spoken with John Smith. I find him to be honest and good. There may be hope for an alliance between our nation and his. I can use his soldiers and weapons to help against the Iroquois Confederacy. I will make him an offer. He can be put to death now, or become like my son, and we can do trade together. We will provide food, they will offer copper, beads and hopefully weaponry.
I have spoken with their chief, named Powhatan. I think things went well. He has offered, I think, to do trade. Food for copper and beads. This is what my men need, so I am going to take this deal.
This is the first time I have met John Smith. My father has offered a deal and Smith has accepted. We shall have a ceremony killing Smith's past life and embracing his new one as my father's son. It will be my new brother.
I do not understand why the chief was going to kill me, but I am grateful that Pocahontas saved me. I have been assured that they will now bring food for my men. I am thankful and must hurry back to tell them the news. To my surprise, when I arrived back at the fort, I learned the men had been told by Ratcliffe that I deserted them. They were under orders to hang me immediately. Thankfully I was able to explain what happened and inform them that food was on the way. This changed the situation quite a bit.
This is absurd. Now the men have turned on me. They are calling for my removal, these disloyal ingrates. If that is what they want, I will sail back to England for more supplies and Matthew Scrivener can take my seat for now.
Matthew Scrivener was a good man and a friend of mine, but he was not cut out to be a leader. He was simply too nice. He stepped down in favor of me taking charge, and the colony agreed. I was named the new governor of Jamestown in early 1608. I immediately cancelled Ratcliffe's mansion and had the men build barracks for themselves, as well as finish building the church and to dig a well for fresh water. Trade was going well with the Powhatans and my men were receiving plenty of food, but there was one problem. The gentlemen at this colony were the youngest sons of nobility, or the wealthy, so they were cash poor, but felt entitled to whatever they wanted without earning it first. The other colonists had to work to earn their daily food rations, so this was a definite morale killer. Therefore, I placed a lock of the food storage door and informed all the colonists that he who will not work shall not eat. I knew this would cause issues, but it needed to be done to keep order and the morale of the men high. That bill came due too soon for my liking. I was resting in my canoe when a spark from an unknown source ignited my gunpowder satchel, causing it to explode on my lower abdomen and thigh. I had to roll into the river to put the fire out, nearly drowning in the process. I told my fellow colonists it was an accident to avoid any infighting, but I knew it was Percy, one of the gentlemen here, and he made it known he wanted my job. More incriminating still, it was his father and brother who had been found guilty in the gunpowder plot to blow up Parliament on November 5, 1605. I was too injured and near death to try to stay at the colony. Luckily for me, or perhaps planned this way, Ratcliffe had arrived back at the colony 2 days ago with fresh supplies, so I was able to board this ship to go home and heal. Unfortunately, I would never be able to return. And so, ends my time at Jamestown and with you. It also seems to be the perfect time to take a break from part 1. Be sure to check out part 2, because what happens next will be unbelievable.